Hello, everyone. The 2020 biennial meeting of the Norwegian-American Historical Association is called to order. My name is Dennis Gimestad, and I serve as the president of the association for another hour or so. I'm glad to welcome you to this biennial meeting of our members. As many of you know, NAHA members gather every 2 years, to select new board members, to engage with some recent scholarship related to the Norwegian-American experience, and usually to share a meal. Except for the last, we continue that tradition today. And I am so happy to say that I have some very good news to report. Just yesterday, we were notified by the Minnesota Historical Society that we will receive a major grant from the Legacy Grants Program for digitizing selected portions of the Ole Edvard Rolvag papers. This is a project that has been long in the planning, and we're delighted to be able to tackle this. It will take place in 2021. So stay tuned. Much more will be available in our newsletter as this project unfolds. During this past biennium, the NAHA board and its committees have worked very hard on a new strategic plan. I'd like to read the statement from the plan's introduction as it summarizes our vision. As it looks to the future, NAHA will broaden its interpretation of the Norwegian-American experience within its archives, publications, and events. Through increased attention to new audiences, new historical sources, and new perspectives on migration, NAHA will expand its reach by incorporating evolving technology, sound scholarship, and emerging areas of research. We're now at work implementing this vision. We've developed a publications prospectus with research and writing priorities for our journal and other publications, and we're refining the acquisitions policy for our archives. These efforts recognize the entire 2 centuries of Norwegian America, from early immigration through the continuing evolution of the Norwegian American diaspora. We're also mindful of our geographic reach throughout the United States and Canada, and of new research questions and topics. Of course, proper conservation of our collection is paramount. At this point, I'm going to turn over to a presentation by the NAHA staff. Executive Director Amy Boxrud, Editor Anna Peterson, and Archivist Christina Warner for some detail about our work over this past biennium.
Hello, everyone. I wanted to share some NAHA headlines with you before I turn things over to Anna and Christina to talk about publications and archives. First, as many of you know from our newsletter, the association's offices and archives are closed due to the pandemic, and we expect this to be the case throughout the winter. So keep an eye on our website for updates. In the meantime, we've gotten used to a new normal, and we will continue to serve our members and patrons remotely. I know that many members are eager to hear an update on our climate-controlled vault, which is part of a new facility for all of the special collections in Rolvag Library. In 2019, the National Endowment for the Humanities awarded St. Olaf a $300,000 matching grant to support this project. This past April, NAHA donated the funds that were raised by our members, and the timing of our gift allows it to be matched by the NAH grant. Our $160,000 gift to the college was a result of the many NAHA members who answered the call to preserve the priceless materials we care for in our archives. Again, to all who supported this project, we say a heartfelt thank you. As you can see in the picture here, deconstruction had already begun in the new vault area when the pandemic began. Due to an operating deficit in the current fiscal year brought on by the pandemic, the college put a temporary hold on all capital projects that are not in response to health, safety, or necessary maintenance. St. Olaf continues to seek donors for the project, and the goal is to have the facility completed in time for the college's sesquicentennial in 2024. Now I'd like to turn to the finances of the association over the past 2 years. First, a summary of our income and expenses. The graph on the left shows our sources of income, which this past year is shown in blue. Donations and bequests, membership fees, and income from investments make up most of our income each year. Other sources are book sales and royalties, archives fees, event fees, and occasionally grants. The second graph shows our expenses. Staff salaries and benefits account for about half of our annual expenses each year. One significant expense for many organizations that NAHA does not have is rent, since our space is generously provided by St. Olaf. The association has endowed funds for 3 major purposes. Funding for operations makes up more than 40% of the total. This includes the Oi Rolvag Memorial Fund. About a third of our funds are designated for publications, and currently less than 20% are designated for the archives. NAHA members will be hearing more about opportunities to increase this mission-critical funding in the near future. The remaining temporarily restricted funds are the Sigvald Kvali Fund for student involvement in the association and the Twin Cities History Project, which you'll hear an update on from Anna. And now on to membership. Members are the lifeblood of the association, and we continue to hover just shy of 1,000 members. About half are lifetime members, and you'll hear more about them in a minute. Since 2004, we've offered only annually renewing memberships, which are represented in the second graph. As you can see, our annually renewing membership counts have stayed fairly level from our last few biennial meetings. Thank you to all members for this support, and a special shout out to those who renew at the sustainer and patron level. We would love to see our membership grow, so I'm going to take this opportunity to mention that the association will be offering gift memberships again this holiday season. In addition to all the regular benefits of membership, a gift membership includes a NAHA mug or tote, and you can purchase a gift membership from our website, by mail, or by phone. NAHA continues to hold spring and fall member events. In the spring of 2019, we held our spring member meetup at Norway House in Minneapolis. Our guest was art historian Sigrid Lien, author of Pictures of Longing. In October last year, we teamed up with the Eastside Freedom Library for a program called Immigration, Community, and Archives on St. Paul's East Side. The event included a historic walking tour of the neighborhood with immigration and labor historian Peter Radcliffe, and speakers from the Hmong Archives and the National Khmer Legacy Museum. Our 2020 spring event was originally scheduled to be held at Norway House, but was postponed due to the onset of the pandemic. Instead, Terje Gjøranger, who is the director of the Norwegian Immigrant Museum, gave our first fully online event with his talk, New Directions in Migration Research. If you missed it, you can watch it on our YouTube channel. The pandemic has brought changes to our events, and we will be meeting online for the foreseeable future. But the silver lining has been that more members from all over the US, Canada, and Norway have been able to join us. So we plan to keep making that possible whenever we can. At this point in my report, I'd like you to join me in a tribute to 528 very significant members of the association. They are the lifetime members who live in 46 states in Canada and in Norway. These members have made an enduring impact on our association. The income from lifetime memberships from 1956 to 2004 created the Oi Rolvag Memorial Fund, which fuels our operations and makes carrying out our mission possible, even in these difficult times. Who knew what challenges we would face in 2020 when this year began? Yet the Rolvag Fund, along with generous support from St. Olaf, has allowed us to keep moving forward. Lifetime memberships are no longer available, but to those who chose to become lifetime members, and to those lifetime members who are still supporting us today, I would like to say, on behalf of all our members, a heartfelt tusen takk. Thank you. If you'd like more information about anything you've seen today, I'd be happy to help you find it. You can find more financial information in our annual reports, which are on our website. You'll also find back issues of Currents, our quarterly newsletter, on the website. For other questions, feel free to contact me at the information on the screen. I'd be happy to hear from you and answer any questions you might have. As always, thank you for your interest and your support of NAHA.
Hello everyone, I'm Anna Peterson, editor for NAHA. Since our last biennial meeting, there have been exciting developments in the publications realm. One of the biggest of these has been the redesign and relaunch of Norwegian-American Studies, NAHA's journal. Since I came on as editor in the spring of 2018, much of my work has focused on this. To aid NAHA in the publication of Norwegian-American Studies, we partnered with University of Minnesota Press, a press known for both high-quality production and a commitment to publishing works in the field of Scandinavian studies. We've been very pleased with this partnership so far. At the end of 2019, the first newly designed issue of Norwegian-American Studies should have landed in your mailboxes. And here's a refresher of what that looked like. Though it may look different, the 2019 issue is a continuation of the journal NAHA has published since 1926, hence its numbering as volume 37 instead of volume 1. The journal remains focused on showcasing new scholarship in the field of Norwegian-American Studies, including the related fields of history, literature, religion, art, and cultural studies. Now published on an annual basis, the journal aims to not only publish scholarship on Norwegian American life, but also facilitate intellectual exchange by publishing original journal articles alongside discussions of scholarly works in progress, the teaching and learning of Norwegian American Studies, reviews of books recently published in the field, and more. As we speak, volume 38 is in its final production phases, and here's a sneak peek of that. It should be sent to your addresses in November. It's a special issue focused on the topic of war in the 20th century. The look and feel remains consistent with last year's issue and includes rich images alongside engaging text. I hope you enjoy reading it as much as I enjoyed putting it together. In addition to the work on Norwegian American Studies, I also wanted to update you on the Twin Cities History Project. You may have read an overview of this project in last year's issue of Norwegian American Studies. Dr. David Mock wrote the works in progress for that issue. Dr. Mock is now nearing completion of this research and writing of the history of Norwegian Americans in Minneapolis and St. Paul. I am pleased with the progress that has been made and look forward to sharing the project with you soon.
The past 2 years in the NAHA archives have been quite eventful. I joined NAHA in March of 2019 while finishing up my master's degree from the University of Wisconsin-Madison. I am so thrilled to have the opportunity to work with a great board, staff, and researchers who are excited about the Norwegian American experience. I am excited about all that we have accomplished in the last 2 years, and I can't wait to see what we can accomplish in the years to come. In 2019 and 2020, we've had 325 reference questions so far, 48 researchers, and 3 St. Olaf College classes. These classes came in to view the Rolvag materials and view our Norwegian language letters that we have in our collection to understand how language has changed from the late 1800s to today. So far, we've had 115 donations. Despite closing the archives in March, we've had more reference questions and donations than in 2017 and 2018. The NAHA archives will stay closed for the foreseeable future, but we have made accommodations to make sure that important research can still be accomplished. Since 2019, we've had some really exciting acquisitions. Recently, I traveled to Hayward, Wisconsin to collect the American Rookie Binerski Foundation records. We still have more items to collect from them, but with the help of my student workers, We are working diligently to process this collection and make it accessible to researchers as soon as possible. Last month, Amy, Debbie, Dennis, and myself traveled to Fairfax, Minnesota to collect materials from the perilous Rung-Lee parsonage. This trip was a unique experience for us all to take a step into the past, to visit a well-preserved library full of books, correspondence, manuscripts, photographs, and so much more. Rung-Lee was a pastor for the Fort Ridgely, Dale, Palmyra, and Clear Lake congregations starting in 1891. Rung-Lee came to the area following the departure of Neil Xavier, for whom the parsonage was built, and a well-known Sami pastor. We have also received quite a few other really exciting donations, including the Old Level papers, Norwegian Glee Club records, Holcomb family papers, and Marcus Thorney family papers. Beyond donations, we have been busy working on digitizing materials in our collection. Through the Minnesota Digital Library, we've had a selection of materials about the North American Centennial digitized, and a few Ole Rovag materials that will be coming soon. The Minnesota Library offers these mini grants, as I'll call them, to have items digitized and made available through their platform and the Digital Public Library of America. Having portions of these two collections digitized and made available will be a great way for researchers to locate our archive. We also had a call for donations, or adopt a cassette, to digitize a collection of oral histories recorded by Old Level and Terja Joranger. Your generous donations made this possible. This summer, we received the digital versions and have public interns working on them currently to process the digital assets and create transcripts of the recordings. This project will take some time, as we have over 80 hours of oral histories and have to work on gaining permission to post these in our content management system. Finally, thanks to the Jackie Henry Memorial Funds, we have purchased our first flatbed scanner that will allow us to digitize materials to meet archival best practices. In July of this year, we submitted a grant application to the Minnesota Historical Society for a legacy grant to digitize the Ole Rovag papers. We will hear before December 1st if we were selected for this grant cycle. Available funds have been reduced by 14% due to the reduction in revenue, making this grant cycle extremely competitive. The current pandemic has us shifting priorities. While working from home, I've had the opportunity to move full steam ahead and transferring legacy data from LAIF to our new content management system, Omeka. This new catalog will be more user-friendly, allow us to upload digital content to the record itself, and so much more. I expect this to go live within the next year or so. Finally, I'd like to share with you all of our students who have interned with me in the past 10 months. I am so thankful for these eager students who have helped me so greatly this year. Despite all of our difficulties with moving to remote work and limited interaction, these students have been so great at helping us move our strategic plan forward, and I can't thank them enough. Finally, thank you to our volunteers, Dale and Dale, who have helped us greatly the past 2 years. From help with genealogical research and technical questions, you have been extremely helpful and always a pleasure to work with.
Many thanks, Amy, Anna, and Christina. As you could probably tell, these presentations were taped just a few days ago before we got news on the Rovag grant. So you heard a little bit about the origins and a little bit about the suspense we were in before we got the good news yesterday. Anna and Christina joined our staff over this past biennium. We've also welcomed in that time Denise Hovland, who is the editor of our newsletter, Currents. We are so fortunate to have all of you, and we deeply appreciate your work on behalf of the association. We're also deeply appreciative of our members through our publications and newsletter, and by your participation in NAHA events and your generous ongoing support. You are an integral part of the NAHA community, and we're glad so many of you could join us today. Okay, we are moving on in our agenda, and the next item of business is the election of new board members. And I will turn to Ron Johnson, our secretary of the association and the chair of our nominating committee.
Thank you, Dennis. The NAHA Board of Directors may have 25 members. Recently, the membership has been at 21. In seeking candidates, we had 4 current members who are eligible for re-election for another 4-year term, and all of whom agreed to serve for another 4 years. We have 3 vacancies. We have 2 members who are term limited, both of them unfortunately leaving us, especially our great president, Dennis Gimstad. We decided to add 1 more member to the board, so we were seeking a total of 10 members, including the 4 persons who are qualified to be renominated. Those 4 are James Hansval, Anne-Marie Legride, Scott Knudsen, and Deborah Miller. For the 6 candidates that we have sought, we went according to various needs of the organizations. We looked at people in academics and scholarship, cultural leaders, business and legal, law, politics, public relations, and communications. So taking the skill sets of departing board members, the committee reviewed potential candidates with these varied skills, expertise in the needed areas, geographic diversity, gender balance, and age distribution, since we would like to seed our board with some younger members than those of us like me who are a little bit older. The 6 candidates who have agreed, and I think we have a very distinguished group of candidates, are Annette Atkins in Minneapolis, Professor Emerita of History at St. John's University and the College of St. Benedict; Essam Elkorgli, Urbana, Illinois, graduate student in Sociology of Education at the University of Illinois and a past NAHA volunteer; Terry Lyron, Kenmore, Washington, Professor Emeritus of Scandinavian Studies at the University of Washington; Karen Lillehaugen Nasby, Minneapolis, JD, longtime NAHA member who had helped host NAHA's 2018 Fisher Folk Tour; and Scott Richardson in Northfield, a retired director of community relations for Northfield Hospital and former chair of the Northfield Historical Society; and Chris Walseth in Bloomington, Minnesota, who was a member of the NAHA Development Committee and a former member of the board of Norway House. So for all 10 of those candidates, I would move that they be elected or re-elected to the board.
You've heard Ron's report. For the rest of the election here, you can interact with us via the chat function. We will be monitoring that. So the first thing I would ask is, do we have a second for Ron's motion? And that second can come through the chat function. Thank you for that avalanche of seconds. It's nice to see. We will then move on to the vote. This vote is you can also make. Oh, I'm sorry. I missed the opportunity for any discussion. Is there any discussion? If you do have anything, questions or discussion, you can make that request through chat as well. I'm not seeing any. I hope that I'm monitoring the right number here, but I'm not seeing anything come in. So we will move on to the vote. And we have a poll that will appear. You can vote yes or no for the slate of proposed board members. And we will give you about a minute to fill this ballot out. Okay, the election is concluded and we have 6 new board members and 4 renewing board members. Congratulations to all of you.
All right. Well, let me be the second. I thought I was going to be the first to congratulate our new board members, but I'll be the second to congratulate you. Welcome to the Board of Directors. This is always a bittersweet time, even though the elections are exciting, but that usually means that there are members who are also stepping off the Board of Directors. And that is the case today. So I wanted to take a minute to recognize 3 members of the board who are departing this year. First, a shout out to Bruce Willis, who joined the board in 2014. I'm using my notes here because I don't want to forget anything. As a member of the Publications Committee, he helped us reimagine the future of our publications program and establish a new working relationship with the University of Minnesota Press. He also chaired our governance committee, and he's been a great supporter of the association. We will miss your sense of humor and your friendly booming voice in our board meetings, Bruce. Now on to Dave Holt. Dave joined the board in 2012, and he has served on our finance and development committees. He became a lifetime member of the association in 1985. When I served on the board with Dave, he quietly and generously made one of our major gifts for the climate control project that challenged the rest of us on the board to step up with 100% board participation. And we're starting to see the fruits of those gifts now, as you heard from my report earlier. Dave was also the impetus behind our Northern Migrations Tour to Northern Norway in 2017, co-led with Solveig Zempel and myself. And a fun fact about Dave, no matter how many friends and distant relatives you think you have in Norway, I can almost guarantee that Dave has more. He has connections everywhere. Finally, our president, Dennis Gimstad. Dennis became a lifetime member of the association in 1980. He joined the board in 2012, and he served on the archives committee and was chair of the membership committee. He also served as vice president and then became president in 2016. At a time when our publications weren't coming out as frequently, Dennis stepped up and began to organize thoughtful, informed tours to provide greater value to NAHA membership. In fact, if you've enjoyed any of our events in the last 4 years, I can tell you that Dennis has had a role in shaping it. As president, he showed an interest in every aspect of the association's work while never losing sight of the big picture. Simply put, he was just the kind of president we needed during a time of major transition. And he has led the association to another level. And I was not going to get teary, but I'm going to miss working with Dennis a lot. So I know Bruce has already received a parting gift from NAHA. Dennis and Dave, I hope that you have found a package from Tokheim Stoneware on your doorsteps from us all by now as well. And to all of you, sincere thanks, and don't be a stranger. Did you find it, Dennis? Did it arrive? Back to you.
I just opened it while you were talking. Thank you very much.
Oh, did you?
It's
wonderful.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. Thank you.
Well, think of us when you use it later tonight.
Of course. Of course. Thank you.
Toast. We'll be toasting you virtually. So back to you, Dennis.
Thank you. Amy established a little bit of a tradition after the biennial a few years ago when we all met down at the Contented Cow in downtown Northfield for some Scandinavian folk music after the biennial. I'm sorry that we can't continue that part of the tradition today, but maybe that will be back in a few years. It's a great time to share with everyone after a meeting. I think the only thing we have left on our agenda here is if there is any new business. So if anyone has anything on their mind that should come before the membership, please let us know in chat.
I have one thing to say, and that is a message from Annette Atkins, one of our new board members, who says that she thinks it's important to say that the MNHS funds are legacy funds from the state of Minnesota, the citizens of Minnesota, and administered by MNHS. So we'll just make that clarification. Thank you, Annette.
Yeah, that's important. For those of you that live outside of Minnesota, the legacy funds have been a great supporter of lots of cultural work, historical and cultural work over the past many years. All right, I'm not hearing any, was there any new business that came in that I didn't see? Okay. Well, with that, I will say that the 2020 biennial meeting of the Norwegian-American Historical Association is hereby adjourned. And thank you all for your participation, for your patience, and we look forward to seeing you at our events and otherwise interacting with you in the future. Thank you.